Consumer conflict. A consumer is a person that buys goods and services for their own personal use. Consumers have rights and also responsibilities. When consumers buy goods or services, a basic rule applies called caveat emptor, which means let the buyer beware. Consumers must act cautious and use common sense. They must research and check out a product or service before buying. For example, if you're buying a car, make sure you have a mechanic look over it. Causes of consumer conflict. A conflict is a disagreement or a dispute over an issue. Cause of consumer conflict is poor quality products or services, overpriced products or services, or just bad customer service. Consumer conflict can be solved non-legislative method or the legislative method. Always try non-legislative first. The consumer and the retailer, the shop, try to solve the conflict without reference to law or to any legal agency. Method 1 is negotiation, bargaining to reach mutually acceptable solutions to the conflict. Consumers set out complaint and desired solutions clearly. The retailer responds. They may agree or offer an alternative solution or reject the complaint totally. Both must continue to talk to reach a compromise to solve it using non-legislative methods. Method 2 can be that the Consumers Association of Ireland. The Consumer Association of Ireland is an interest group for consumers. Its aim is to make sure that consumers get quality products and services and value for money and know their rights. Any consumer who experiences problems can contact the Consumer Associations of Ireland. The Consumer Association of Ireland will give consumers expert advice on their rights and on how to solve problems. The Consumer Association publishes magazines called Consumer Choice. The COA lobby government on consumer issues. Benefits of non-legislative methods include: it's cheap. Example, there's no need to pay for a solicitor. It's quick, no waiting appointments or court dates. It's much friendlier, and there can be good relations when the dispute is over. Legislative methods to solve consumer conflict. This means trying to solve conflict by referring to the laws of Ireland or trying to use a legal organisation set up by the law. The legislative methods include the Sale of Goods and Supply Services Act 1980, the Consumer Protection Act 2007, Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, the CCPC, the Small Claims Court, the Ombudsman for Public Services. The legislative method to solve consumer conflict. Method 1. If this is the law that's broken, Sale of Goods and Supply Services Act 1980. The consumer have a number of rights under this law. When a consumer buys a good, they must be of merchantable quality, must be of a reasonable quality and acceptable standard, fit for the purpose in which it was made, capable of doing the task they were designed to do. Example, a kettle must boil water. As described, must be portrayed and not misleading. So if something says 100% leather, it should be 100% leather. Identical to a sample shown. The same as any sample given or shown. Example, wallpaper or paint. Your product must be the same as the sample you were shown. Legislative methods to solve consumer disputes. If the goods do not satisfy these rules, then the consumer is entitled to a remedy, one of the three R's: refund, replacement, or repair. A refund if it's a major fault and it's reported quickly. A replacement, the consumer may decide to accept a new product. A repair, goods used for some time, you have a long time and the complaint is delayed, then a repair is a likely outcome. Secondly, when a consumer buys a service, they should expect persons offering service to be qualified and have necessary skills. Service provided with care and attention. The materials used are good quality. And if there is any goods sold as part of the service, they must be of merchantable quality. If services do not satisfy these rules, then the consumer is entitled to a remedy, i.e. one of the three R's. The Sales of Goods and Supply Services Act 1980 also states that the retailer is also always legally responsible for solving the consumer's complaint. The consumer cannot be told to contact the manufacturer. The consumer has to contract with the retailer. It also states that it is an offence for a retailer to display signs that take away from a consumer's right to a refund of faulty goods. Example, no refund. It makes certain signs that limit the consumer's right under this law as illegal. The Sale of Goods and Supply Services Act also states that a guarantee is a formal assurance from a manufacturer or retailer that a product will be repaired or replaced, if not of the specified quality. Guarantees cannot take from a consumer's right, but can only give extra protection. The Supply of Goods and Services Act also protects against unsolicited goods. Goods sent to the consumer that were not ordered. Consumers does not have to pay for them. If after 30 days they have written to say where the goods can be collected, or after 6 months, even if they haven't written. Evaluation of the Sale of Goods and Supply of Services Act. This law does a good job of protecting the consumer because it ensures that the consumer gets their money back if the product or service is not up to legal standard. The consumer should not be fooled into thinking they must accept credit notes from the retailer who put up the signs to that effect, i.e. it protects against illegal notices that tries to limit the consumer's statutory rights. This act is also good because it prohibits signs taking away any consumer rights in total. And this act also makes sure that consumers can expect services carried out with due and diligent care using merchantable goods and by a person who has skills to do so.